Welcome everyone to this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Sergeant Chelsea Weaver.
And I'm PFC Anna Grace Catoe.
And today we have a special guest with us. I'm going to let him introduce yourself, so go ahead, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Major Ben Thornton, State Training Administrator for South Carolina Army National Guard, and recently just took command of 4th of the 118th Infantry Regiment.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking your time out of your very busy schedule. I know that for officers, especially being full-time, you guys have pretty intense schedules, so it's nice to have you come in and talk about your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we're just going to jump right in. So if you can kind of start with what led you to join the South Carolina National Guard and how it got you to where you are now.
Yeah, so not atypical of most people that join the military. I wanted college benefits. I had an ROTC scholarship to Furman, and when I commissioned into the National Guard, and I didn't know a whole lot about the Guard at that time, so I just wanted to be in the closest unit to Greenville, where I was going to live, and ended up being Fountain Inn, which was fortunate. I commissioned as an infantry officer, and they were the closest infantry unit. So, kind of luck would have it, put me there, and it's been a great experience ever since.
Awesome. Were you, like, maybe when you were younger or going through high school and stuff, did you have ambitions to be in the military, or did it kind of just happen once you went to college?
So, grew up just outside of Annapolis, so military area. My grandfather was a Marine in World War II. So there's, and my dad's dad was a Marine. My mom's dad was a Navy officer in World War II as well. So come from a military family. Didn't have huge ambitions of joining the military. This is all pre 9/11, but wanted to. I was stubborn and independent, and wanted to make sure that I was putting myself through college. So that was kind of the driving factor. We did a big tour before my junior year in high school, where we went to a bunch of schools in the Southeast. My sister went to Davidson and played lacrosse there. So I wanted to go to a similar, smaller school in the Southeast, and we looked at Wofford, Furman, Presbyterian, Mercer. So, and when I went to Furman, they had a camo net over a table, and one of the master sergeants was doing recruiting, and he hook, line, and sinker. He's like, "Do you ever want to jump out of airplanes? You want to do this?" And he's like, "Do you play any sports?" And I wrestled and played soccer. And he's like, "You'd be perfect for a scholarship." So I was only joining the military if I went to Furman, and luck would have it, I got accepted and got a scholarship to go to Furman.
Awesome. So what led you to join the National Guard versus going active duty? Or was that kind of part of your contract with going through college and everything like that?
Yeah, so it wasn't part of my contract. It was just I graduated in 2005, and they had a mass exodus of Guard officers leaving because of 9/11, because of the op tempo in the National Guard picking up. Mm-hmm. So my commissioning class, I think 50% of the people that commissioned that year were commissioned into the Guard, and I was one of them.
So, sir, you said that you directly sought out the infantry?
So, yeah, I mean, my first sergeant in college in ROTC, he was a Ranger Battalion first sergeant, and very, very motivated kind of guy, and he's certainly someone that influenced me to go into the infantry. And I figured if I was going to be in the military, the infantry is the military. Everything else supports that.
Yeah. Now, earlier you were saying that you joined pre 9/11. How did that impact you with your service and wanting to continue to serve?
Yeah. So at Furman, very first day of classes, because we were on trimesters at the time, was September 11th.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was sitting in a military science class with a lieutenant colonel who's teaching, kind of going through the syllabus, the introductions, and his secretary came in and told him that a plane had struck the Twin Towers. And not understanding the gravity of the situation, he had some choice words and said, "Class dismissed." And I'm like, all right, first day of college, we're already getting out of class early. This is pretty awesome. Got back to my dorm room. My roommate had written on our chalkboard. We didn't have cell phones to text message, kind of dating myself. He's like, turn on the news. And, I was sitting in my dorm room and watched the second tower fall. And it was kind of, just the gravity of the situation and where we were at. And we had a formation later that day as a part of ROTC, where our cadet battalion commander kind of addressed us, and cadre addressed us about the significance of today and how that would impact the rest of our lives.
So did that kind of, since you were still in college then, did that have any effect on your decision and still continuing to go into the military?
I mean, it didn't change my decision. I think it might have reinvigorated like a sense of purpose of like why I was doing it. Originally might not have gone in with the right intentions of wanting to have college paid for, but then understanding that it's so much bigger than that, and just the pride that America had, on September 12th, the cliche, everyone was an American on September 12th. It just gave you a sense of purpose for what you were about to go do.
Mm-hmm. So you were saying that you are or about to be the battalion commander of the 4th of the 118th?
Yep, I took command of 4th of the 118th, official date 1 January. We had our change of command ceremony on 7 January. So I'm in command of 4th of the 118th. Awesome.
So I know before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about your history with the 4th of the 118th. So you started out as a platoon leader, correct? And then you kind of just went through the ranks. So you've always been a part of the 4th of the 118th in some way, shape, or form.
So, yep, I was with the 4th of the 118th from 2005 till 2020. So deployed 3 times with them. Multiple different training exercises in Saudi Arabia, Japan, Mexico, XCTC, NTC, warfighter exercises. So, I mean, everything that I know of the Guard, with the exception of the past 2 years, has been that organization. I mean, I've been fortunate to deploy as a platoon leader to Afghanistan, company commander on a peacekeeping mission to Kosovo, and then my most recent deployment to Kuwait as the battalion XO.
Now, how was it different going, not only being in different positions during each of those deployments, but the difference between those deployments since you went to 3 different locations? Like, what was the dynamic between the 3 of those?
So every deployment's different, regardless of where you're going and what you think you're going to do. You could train to do one thing, and then as soon as you get on the ground, it's almost always something's going to change that totally flips up what you think you're going to be doing, and you end up potentially doing something else. So my first deployment being a combat deployment to Afghanistan, I was a platoon leader, separated from our company, on a remote fob, just about less than 50 Americans, with 25 of them being under my command. We did security for that base, and then also mentored the Afghan National Army that was co-located on the base that we were with. Just huge learning curve, being young, being detached from my company. Had a good, fortunate to also be on that same fob with a lot of current and former senior leaders of the South Carolina National Guard. They had an ETT team that was co-located on that base, FOB Apache. So got to learn a lot from them. My second deployment, company commander to Kosovo, peacekeeping mission. So totally different than the first deployment. We rotated frequently all over Kosovo, in northern Kosovo. So it was a lot of moving. We moved to a different base every 2 to 8 weeks. So never really had a place to call home for that deployment. But again, we were the only U.S. company on that deployment. We had the brigade headquarters, a battalion headquarters, and the battalion headquarters had operational control of a German company, a U.S. company, a French company, a Turkish company. So true NATO operation. And then this last deployment to Kuwait, we were the armored mechanized force, reaction force for the CENTCOM AOR. Got on ground, was doing our relief in place with my active duty counterpart, and he's like, man, Kuwait's awesome. Nothing goes on here. It's totally chill. He's like, I got to show you where to get get suits made. Great places to eat in Kuwait City. And the day I was on the Advon team, and the day our battalion commander got on ground, we're prepping to send Bradleys to Syria. So our experience was greatly different than what the unit that we replaced. And then COVID happened. Mm-hmm. So we immediately, our op tempo in Kuwait was through the roof. We're trying to figure out how to get Bradleys on a plane into Syria to support operations up there. So it's just go, and then COVID kind of shut everything on the base down, but we still had to support operations in Iraq and Syria. So it just made making things happen that much more difficult. So regardless of your preconceived notion of going into those mobilizations, what we actually did on ground just changed drastically.
Sir, I know you've only been in command for a couple weeks now, but right now, how does it feel to be a commander of a battalion that you basically grew up in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a privilege. This is a dream come true. I've learned so much from the people in that organization, the leaders that have come before me, the soldiers that I saw or may have deployed with that privates and specialists that are now first sergeants and sergeants majors. So it's an honor to be a part of something that's given so much to me, just because everything that I know, Army leadership, comes from the people of that organization. So just overly privileged to have such an opportunity.
Awesome. I kind of want to go back to the COVID thing. We haven't really talked about that. I mean, I don't even know if we talked about it when it was going on, but a lot of us know the dynamic of how it was being stateside, but how was it being deployed? And I mean, there wasn't really any direction to begin with, but when you're on mission or you're overseas in another country trying to do all these missions and all these things that you're tasked to do, like, how did that affect you guys? And how was it being away from home during that time?
I mean, it was certainly difficult. Around the same time COVID hit, we also did an airstrike on Suleimani outside of Baghdad. So they deployed the 82nd to our base in Kuwait. So our base all of a sudden had 10,000 people on it that we weren't accustomed to as their reaction force got there. They shut down the chow halls, they shut down the gyms, they shut down, and we have this influx of people that were standing outside, waiting in line 6 feet apart to get your tray, to go through the chow hall, to go eat outside or your room. So the things, the creature comforts that make soldiers happy or happier, as happy as you can be on a deployment, were totally shut down. Any outlet. They had the MPs coming around and breaking up groups of, if you were in a group of 6 or more people, they would break you up and spread you apart. I mean, but it was also, no one knew. Mm-hmm. So it was just such a weird time. And talking with my wife, back here, she works from home, so she was just totally isolated from everyone. And her sister, who lived in the same town, scared to come over because you just didn't know. I mean, certainly now looking back on it, you have a different perspective. But it was just weird, odd. You had to find things that made you happy to keep you occupied. The pull-up bars that were outside got a lot of use. There became lots of underground pop-up gyms. I kid you not, there was rocks taped up to other rocks to be heavy for people to lift, just to be able to do something, to be outside and not cramped in their 4-man room, or some of the junior enlisted were in massive tents. You kind of packed on top. They're in 50-man tents, 20 people in a 50-man tent, so there's plenty of space. But by COVID standards, it was just having to mitigate that and still manage operations was certainly a leadership challenge.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, for public affairs, I mean, our daily operations kind of stopped, but we were still all over the state covering everything that was going on, and people were coming on orders to do different missions and stuff. So, I mean, it was definitely a different aspect, but I definitely could not imagine being deployed during that and having to find stuff to fill your time with. Because like you said, I mean, I deployed in 2014, and the only outlet you really had was going to the gym or going for a run or watching a movie at the USO or something. Like, so when you have all that taken away from you, like, it's hard to figure out what to do with yourself whenever you're not working.
Right. I mean, the USO for the first part of our deployment, great job putting on, doing USO things, putting on event nights to keep soldiers occupied. But the other thing, of the unit that was to replace us couldn't train because they weren't allowed to be together.
Mm-hmm.
So we were delayed coming home by 90 days.
Oh, wow.
In 30-day increments. Hey, it's going to be 30 more days. So the phone calls home, hey, not coming home in June. Hey, not coming home in July. Not coming home in August. Eventually I was one of the last to leave and got home in October. So a 9-month deployment in country ended up being, a full 12 months. So that was a frustrating aspect of it all, and just the unknown, it just, and I know that was tough for the battalion commander to have to continue to put that out to soldiers, but it was the best information that we had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question about
Sure.
COVID?
Yeah.
Did you guys experience the great toilet paper shortage of 2020 over there?
I'm trying to think. I mean, maybe I don't think so, because I can't put my.
Well, you guys, the thing about deployment is, like, you don't think about having to go shopping because everything is provided. So, I mean, I could see where it probably really wasn't as big of a deal as it was for us, because they probably had everything there that you needed.
Yeah, no, I don't. That wasn't that big of a deal, or if it is, I'm not recalling it. We had to wait in line for everything. So and you had to wear a mask as you're standing outside in the desert in the heat, waiting to go, go through the chow line to get your food. And towards the end of deployment, you're allowed to eat in the chow hall. But most of, from February till mid-summer, you weren't allowed to eat in the chow hall, so you had to take it back somewhere to your room to eat. And sometimes the chow hall line was so long that you wouldn't, I was having my wife send me ramen and tuna and, just other things to not have to wait in line for food.
I was going to say, I could not imagine, because the line's already long as it is, and they typically move pretty quickly, but when you're having to stand 6 feet apart from somebody and then you can't even eat in there, like, I can't even imagine how long you would have to even wait.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of one of those things, that looking back on it, it seems silly, but at the time it made sense. It was the best decision we could make with the information that we had.
So this isn't a question that I think we've ever really asked anybody, but we'll test it out with you.
All right.
So if you had 30 seconds to give your younger self some advice, what would that be?
My younger self would probably be, listen to your parents. They know what's best for you, and they've probably made some of the mistakes that you're going to make. But I mean, certainly when, my younger self in my career is, listen to your NCOs, learn from your NCOs. They have your best interest at heart, and take care of your soldiers, making sure that, don't waste soldiers' time. They care about their time just as much as you care about yours. That's what I got.
Awesome. So do you have any advice that you would give those who are listening that maybe want to go the officer route, or they're in school and they're trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives? Like, what advice would you give to people who are listening in that kind of situation?
The South Carolina National Guard found me. I didn't necessarily seek it out. I was hoping to go active duty when I commissioned out of Furman, but looking back on it now, fortunate enough to commission into the South Carolina National Guard, and everything that it's been able to provide me I've checked every career box that I think I could ever want or ever thought that I would get to, and just do your job and focus on what you're currently doing. And a lot of people are constantly looking for that next step and that next opportunity. But if you're focused at what you're tasked with now and doing it to the best of your ability, those future opportunities will come, and not looking too far forward and just enjoying the moment. Everyone talking to people that are post battalion command, like, oh, battalion command was the best time of my life. Oh, company command was the best time. Platoon, it's all the best time of your life. So you just have to savor the moment, do the best that you can, have good mentors, have solid NCOs and staff officers around you, and enjoy it.
Awesome. Do you have any words for your 4th of the 118th soldiers and officers that may be listening?
Yeah, sure. Same thing I said at my change of command. It's an honor and a privilege. I truly believe that organization, that unit, has the highest op tempo in the state. In the past 5 years, they've done 2 warfighter exercises, an XCTC rotation at Fort Bliss, an NTC rotation at Fort Irwin, an extended deployment, and we're going back to XCTC this summer. So it's difficult, it's hard, but it's hard and difficult for a reason, because that organization, that unit, gets called upon to do tough, difficult things. So savor the moment, enjoy it, know why you're there, know that it's important to be there, and know that it's a relevant and valid organization within the state.
All right, sir, is there anything else that you want to say, or maybe something we didn't ask to kind of close out?
No, not that I can think of. I certainly appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We really appreciate you stopping by, and it was fun to hear all the different stuff. And I didn't realize that you were in the 4th of the 118th like through pretty much your whole career. I mean, not a lot of people stay in the same spot for that long.
Yeah, especially officers.
Yeah.
So I was, I'm blessed and very fortunate to have been able to stay as long as I have, and being able to go back and command. So I'm very privileged. And
Absolutely.
Thankful for the leadership for entrusting me with this opportunity.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you for stopping by. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.